And now,
Someone came and did something here. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, this is state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2013 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2012, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Mr. Brownlee?
here,
Mrs. Larrier?
Here.
Ms. Leventhal?
Here.
Mr. Ryan?
Here.
Mayor DeLuca?
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public, and whereas Section 7 provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public in any meeting, and whereas desire this governing body to comply with the vision of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner, now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee, Township Maplewood does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberation of the governing body by the public, except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observation of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
second,
Mr. Brownlee?
yes,
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. And again, welcome to our meeting. I'm going to go over the agenda. I'm going to be doing a few updates during my introduction, but I'll come back to that. After that, we'll have our first public comment period. Then we'll have our monthly Board of Health meeting. And that agenda is pretty packed. We'll be talking about the Affordable Health Care Act, dog and cat ordinance changes, and also muzzling aggressive dogs. Then we'll come back to our agenda here, and if you need an agenda, it's up on the railing there. We have an ordinance on final passage to allow property owners on Villa Terrace certain on-street parking privileges. And that's on final, so there'll be a public hearing at that time. We also have on final an ordinance to amend the speed limit on Brook Lane from 25 to 15 miles an hour, and that's also on second and a final hearing. We have one discussion item tonight, and that's a request by the Valley Street Neighborhood Association to lower the speed limit on Valley Street from 35 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour. And we have some representatives from the association who will be speaking in public, the public comment. We have a consent agenda. We have a number of resolutions appointing Sonia Harrison as the Deputy Municipal Registrar, cancellation of checks, payment of bills. We're going to award a contract to Top Line Construction Company so that they'll do some paving of our streets. We'll be appointing 3 police officers tonight. These are probationary officers who go to the academy. We have some taxi licenses that we'll be issuing or approving this evening. And then we have the minutes from August 6th, both the open session and the closed session. And that's it in a nutshell. We will have our second public comment period. After that, the consent agenda, we'll have reports from departments, administrative reports, and then reports from elected officials. A couple of things. One is we were notified that Maplewood is to receive a $20,000 grant from the state for a survey of the College Hill neighborhood as part of our historic preservation work. And that we want to thank the Historic Preservation Commission for their work in putting that together and seeing it through with the staff to being a successful grant. On August 22nd, right here in this room, we had a meeting with about 70 people who were concerned about a recent shooting in Maple Crest Park. There were a number of items that came up that we have assigned to our different subcommittees, and I just wanted to go through them. There was a request about street lighting and how if a neighborhood wanted to change lighting, how it would happen. And we're going to be talking about that, setting up a policy at the Planning and Engineering Committee. There was a discussion about the lighting in the parks, and the Public Works Committee is going to be looking at that. Question about park closing times, and the Recreation Committee is going to be taking a look at that, evaluating the park closing, and also the signage to make sure that everyone's aware of it. The Public Safety Committee is going to look at emergency push buttons and security cameras in the park. Recreation Committee is going to look at the question of barbecues in the park. What is the policy with grills and cooking in the park? The Planning and Engineering Committee is going to look at traffic calming on Oakland Road, putting up some more signs and pedestrian crossing designations. And the Communications Committee is going to be looking at issues of the Public Safety Committee is going to be looking at issues of how crime events, public safety events should be communicated with the public. There are certain procedures that are followed now, and we want to look to make sure that that's appropriate, given the way in which people communicate now. We also want to let you know that we did receive a letter back from the post office saying that the 21-day hearing, or 21-day, I guess, comment from our last meeting was over, and that they have decided to continue to move forward in finding a postal location. They did not tell us what that location is, but they are moving forward of finding another postal location in Maplewood. So that's going to be happening, and we're going to be moving forth on that. And then lastly, there was a comment by a citizen at the last meeting about the staging of the garbage by Waste Management. And we had a discussion up here about how we would respond. And I want to thank our staff for their work and our attorney in contacting Waste Management. We've now told them that they are not to stage the garbage. Essentially, staging is when they take the garbage and take it from our backyards and put it on the street in piles. And we don't pay for that. We pay for backyard pickup. And when you stage, you essentially are littering the roadway. So we have informed Waste Management that if this occurs starting after today, that we will give tickets to the people who are collecting the garbage and for their littering. We've also informed the State Department of Environmental Protection, and they've also spoken to Waste Management about the issue. So we are clear about this. If anyone sees the garbage collectors staging, we ask you to call the Department of Health, let us know, and we will send out the appropriate people to go alert them that that's not permitted, and if it's not removed, they'll be getting a ticket. And that's where we are. So at this point, we will go to our first public comment period, and I invite anyone to come on up. Usually you are the first.
Good evening, Mayor DeLuca and the members of the Township Committee. It's a pleasure to see you again after a brief summer respite. Mine was brief. I am here to present to you information on behalf of County Executive Joseph N. DiVincenzo and the Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders. On Friday, August 23rd, we celebrated the grand opening of the new and improved Treetop Adventure Course at the Turtleback Zoo. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it is a much improved version of the one which was destroyed during Hurricane Sandy. It will be open on the weekends, Friday through Sunday, and holidays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Let's see, what else can I tell you? It is rope bridges and zip lines and lots of fun, according to those who have been courageous enough to try it to date. I am not one. One more solemn note, on September 11th, we will commemorate the 12th anniversary of the tragedy at the Eagle Rock Reservation. There will be a ceremony beginning at 8 o'clock a.m. and chamber music at the site until 2 o'clock p.m. Last but not least, on October 26th, We are going to present the ever famous and favorite Strut Your Mutt competition. It's a canine Halloween costume contest that's become a popular event for dog owners to show off their creative talents and celebrate their pets and share a happy event with other dog owners. So whether or not you have a dog, come out, join us, pick your favorites, and enjoy the parade. That's October 26th. The rain date is October 27th. The 9:15 a.m. is registration, parade at 10 o'clock a.m. at the Essex County Brookdale Dog Park, that's Grove Street in Montclair, or later on at 1:15 p.m. at the Essex County South Mountain Dog Park, Crest Drive, Maplewood/Milburn. These are the announcements for this evening. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you. Anyone have any questions or comments?
The zip line is at Turtleback Zoo in West. Yes, it's a new feature.
Adults are allowed to use.
Absolutely, adults and children. There are two courses, one more exciting than the other.
So the question was, where is the zip line? It's at Turtleback Zoo, and adults
Yes,
can go and do it if they are brave enough.
they are brave enough and.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think if you could help out with the information.
Do that
Yeah,
offline.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Okay.
Should I comment now on the muzzle ordinance or wait till after that discussion?
I think you should come up during the Board of Health. That would be best. And that's your answer.
That's your final answer.
Yes, someone just said that people can't hear the podium. Do we know if this microphone is on? Thank you, whoever texted me.
It's on.
It's on, okay.
Just please make sure you get as close as you can to the mic.
Is it on? Yeah.
Much
Yep,
better.
that's
Yes,
good.
thank you.
Hello, I'm Cami Zelevinsky.
Closer.
Cami Zelevinsky. I'm founder and co-chair of the Valley Street Neighborhood Association, and we've been meeting for about a year. We have 25 members, and we're here tonight to request a reduction in the speed limit on Valley Street. We understand it's a county road. We'd like the reduction in speed limit to be 25. It's currently 35. As an organization, we see Valley Street as having great potential for a welcoming gateway in Maplewood, pedestrian-friendly avenue. It connects schools. There's lots of school children crossing. There's commuters. There's town hall, the parks. So it's heavily trafficked by pedestrians. We'd like to see that the traffic be respectful of the pedestrians and, safety as the primary goal. And to also helps create more of a sense of community, promotes walking and enjoying the park and the leisurely stroll, that kind of thing. So.
Great. We have this on the agenda to have a conversation about a little later, so does anyone have any questions? And if we have, you're going to stick around. If we have questions, we might
Sure.
get back to you, but I think we'll be okay.
Did everybody get the letter that I?
Yes.
Indeed.
I have copies.
No, I gave it to everybody. Thanks. I sent it to them.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else want to address the Township Committee? Okay, then we'll close the public comment period, and we're going to now move into the Board of Health meeting.
Thank you. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by, I'm losing my cursor here, by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, and by mailing the annual notice of the regular meetings for 2013 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2012, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Mr. Brownlee?
Here.
Mayor DeLuca?
Here.
Mr. Leventhal?
Here.
Mr. Ryan?
Here.
Mrs. Larrier?
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires all meetings of public bodies be open to the public, and whereas Section 7 provides that the Maplewood Board of Health has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public in any meeting, and whereas desire the Maplewood Board of Health to conduct its business in the provision of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner, now therefore be resolved by the Board of Health of the Township of Maplewood that it does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in deliberations of the Board of Health by the public, except as otherwise prescribed by law that limit the public to the observation of the actions and discussions of the Board of Health at its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to the September Board of Health meeting. Mr. DeLuca, Mayor DeLuca, read off our agenda, so do we have extra copies? If you need an extra
I
copy?
have spare copies.
We do have spare copies. We will begin with entertaining a motion to approve the minutes that were sent out.
Move approval as distributed.
Second.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, we have a discussion regarding alerting our residents to the upcoming changes due to the Affordable Care Act, and I believe this was put on the agenda, rightly so, by Mayor DeLuca, if you want to.
Yeah, Mr. Rowe, can we get Mr. Rowe up here?
Yes.
Thanks. What I wanted to do is to really discuss with you whether or not we should, and if we should, what type of information sharing and assistance we might undertake to help our residents who are eligible for the Affordable Care Act.
Well, I'm still learning myself. It seems like, it's gradually more information is coming out. But I know that there are groups that have gotten grants to sign people up and in our area. So what I could do is ask them to come to Maplewood and we could advertise and maybe have some days when people can sign up. Maybe it could be evenings or weekends at the community center. So I think it's something we can do. It'll take a little bit of work organizing it, but we'd be happy to do that.
The other thing is if we can get something on print, because when we're standing out there on Talk to the Township Committee, we're going to get questions about it.
Yes.
And the other thing is, people aren't even going to know about it. So if we can just make sure this, the schools are aware of it. If there's one document, and I know the Ledger's about to come out with some information about this, but there might be something which we can get and we can, email to the schools or see what the schools are going to do, if anything, on this, and try and coordinate it just so that people are aware that this is out there. Because I think most people who are going to fall through the cracks are those who don't know what this is happening.
Right. So
Mr. Ryan.
So, Mr. O, you mentioned that there are people who've gotten grants to help sign people up. We're not.
Organizations that have gotten grants to sign up people for the Affordable Health Care Program, people without insurance. So I know some of them are in nearby towns, and I'm hopeful that they consider Maplewood part of their catchment area. If not, I'll give them an invitation to come to Maplewood, and we'll have sign-up days if need be, and we'll, as the mayor pointed out, we'll do a lot of advertising and publicity ahead of time. I suspect there's a lot of residents in town who don't have health insurance. We get calls just about every day from people who need to get their children vaccinated, or they need some sort of health care and What we have been doing up till now is referring them to one of the federally qualified health centers in Essex County, and that's worked out very well, actually. Whenever I refer someone to one of the healthcare centers, I always say, if that doesn't work, call me back, and they never call me back. So I assume it's working. So we could continue that sort of education and just step it up, because now is the time to do it. So we'll put an emphasis on it, and whichever directions we can find to reach people.
So we're not talking about, who are these organizations? Is it, we're not talking about some for-profit company that is trying to sign people up for a service that they're providing.
No, I think most of them are nonprofits and also some governmental agencies, like the Newark Health Department, I think, has gotten a grant to do it, and some other citizen groups. I don't know all of them right now, but I think I can look them up quickly enough.
Also, I might add, Mr. Rowe, thank you, that a good resource for us has been the Greater Newark Healthcare Coalition.
Yes, they're one of the organizations that's involved. I've been to a couple of their meetings, and that'll probably be the first place I look.
The other thing is, Mr. Manning, your department's not going to be the only one that's going to run into folks. So if we could do some cross-department training to let the police and firefighters know, because as they interact with folks, they're going to find people are going to have questions about this healthcare stuff.
It'd be great if there was some kind of a, straightforward handout.
Right.
Yeah, that would be, this is all evolving and developing, and they've even extended the date by which it was supposed to be implemented, which I think was the 1st, and now it's supposed to be the 12th of September. We keep getting things in our office that indicate these things. So
I suspect they already have a lot of information, so we don't need to reinvent the wheel on this. We can just use what they already have.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yeah, I was going to say, if a copy could be, whatever we put together, if we could get a copy of that before the 23rd, that's the date that we're holding our next Maplewood Community Action Program meeting, and that would be also a good vehicle, because then those people can disseminate it out to the people in their respective areas of town.
Yes.
Thank you.
Actually, if we could get it for the 21st, because that's our next talk to the
then
Township
2 days
Committee.
before.
So we can get it that Friday, the 20th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd also point out that just in looking for information myself, there is a good website that gives a pretty clear timeline of what's happening and when, and maybe rather than it's a little bit long, so rather than read it out now, perhaps we can put that on the website just as a go-to place. And it might be a good, something to pull for a handout.
Yeah, just as a point of information, when we saw the foreclosure stuff happening, and it was starting to happen here, we became very proactive, and we found that we had about 70 people who were in pre-foreclosure situations. So what we did is we divided them up among Township Committee people, and Mr. Manning took some, and we went door to door and spoke to these folks because we knew who they were. So when you have everybody focused on this, the same thing with the census. We were able to focus on that, and we ended up with a tremendous return. So I think if we could do that for this too, we could just get everybody to focus on this period of time when people are eligible to sign up.
Okay. Yes.
And that begins October 1st, correct, is when we start
Yeah.
That's when
signing
the
up.
sign-ups
So that's
start.
sort of
Yeah.
right around the corner. Yeah.
got me. I knew.
It's good.
Any other comments?
Timely distribution, then.
No, I'd just like to say I think this is a great initiative by the town, being especially that the New Jersey is receiving federal government money for this, but there are many more states that are going with the federal program than money that was allocated originally. So it's up to us to really get the word out.
Any other comments on this? Next, we have a discussion surrounding our dog and cat ordinances. I'm going to combine this with the muzzling of aggressive dogs. Mr. Rowe.
I think Mr. Desiderio distributed a draft of the ordinance changes for the chapters of the town code that relate to dog and cats. And I think the plan was to look at it tonight to see if it was generally agreeable or if there were some changes that were needed. And if it's agreeable, to introduce it at the next meeting in September and then have it on final in the first meeting of October. We discussed the late fee. What we're going to do, what this ordinance proposes is to require dog and cat licensing in December, with January being the so-called grace period and the late fee time starting February 1st. The fees don't change. We've just simply, this ordinance was probably 50 years old and had been amended a few piecemeal, but this is the first total rewriting of it in a long time. So that's what this is about, is to rewrite our local ordinance to bring it up to the situations that we have nowadays.
Did anyone have any changes to this ordinance? Did everybody get it? Everybody got it?
My question is that you said you wanted to combine the discussion of the ordinance changes, which seem to me to be, sort of straightforward mechanical items, and this muzzle thing, which isn't. Right, so,
Namely because Mr. Rowe was looking to incorporate that into the ordinance,
Yeah.
which,
Can we do it sequentially? Can we see if there's
Can,
any
yeah.
changes there, and then we can talk
because
about
I don't have any issues on anything but the muzzling issue.
but the muzzle.
I think everything else is fine.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes, I have a question. Mr. Rowe, back a bit, you had sent an email, and in it you were saying that there were some difficulties associated with the licensing date of December 31st because of the New Jersey state requirement that dogs have vaccinations good through September of the year. Is that handled, or can you?
Well, it'll still be a point of confusion for the public, because what we're asking is make sure their dog is vaccinated through 9 months in advance. And so it's going to become a problem, because people are going to walk in the town hall with a vaccination that expires in April, for example. And we'll have to tell them, I'm sorry, we can't accept this. It needs to be good through September. And some of those people are going to be unhappy. Some of them will say, oh, okay, I'll go get my dog vaccinated. We'll try to run vaccination clinics. This was one of the reasons we did our clinics in end of February, beginning of March, to try to help at least as many of those people as we could with the free vaccination, because rabies shots are not cheap anymore at the vet. So we'll probably run a clinic. I'm just thinking right now, maybe we'll run a clinic in early December, and maybe we'll run another one in January, and just hope we don't get knocked out by a blizzard.
And then would we change that to like September of next year, or to try to get in sync?
Can't change the state regulation.
No, I know we can't, but well, I guess I have two questions.
Something that was always, I'm sorry, I interrupted. It wasn't always a state law. It was only the last few years this became effective, so.
So we have to get people on a cycle. We have, through our free clinics, we can help people get on a cycle.
Yes,
That would meet both the September and our licensing date.
right.
Okay.
Right. And again, we're going to have to do publicity on it so that people who are renewing their pet license understand the
Right.
ordinance.
Do we know if there's any risk to being vaccinated less than a year apart, to have vaccinations less than a year apart?
I generally know. The rabies vaccine is very safe.
All right, thank you.
If you did it every year for a dog, maybe that would be overdoing it. But a lot of the vets do it every 2 years, even though 3 years is what we say as public health people.
Thank you.
So, no, there won't be a danger from being over-vaccinated.
Thank you.
Any other issues? Okay, then. The incorporation of the muzzling into this ordinance, I will start by saying that I'm not in favor of incorporating a separate muzzling amendment to this ordinance. I think that if a dog needs to be muzzled, the dog, excuse me, the dog should be behind a fence, and we already do that. So personally, I would not be in favor of that. I will obviously like to hear from my colleagues, but, and a dog that's behind the fence, obviously, if he has to come out, has to be muzzled. I don't think that we need to add a separate muzzling amendment to it. Any other comments?
Is the latter part of your statement either implied or included in the ordinance as it would be rewritten? The latter part of your statement being, but if that dog comes outside the fence, you said they should be muzzled. Is that either implied or?
I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Moreau, but I believe that I read in there that if a dog is vicious and has to be behind a fence, he must be muzzled if he's transported off of the property. Is that correct?
If the dog is found by the court to be what's called potentially dangerous by state statute, there's all sorts of restrictions that go into effect. One of them is a 6-foot fence. You have to have a sign saying dangerous dog. They have to have special insurance. We require a special license that costs $700, and that the dog would have to be muzzled if it was off the property. So to me, that should only be done when a dog is really dangerous. My thinking was we have other dogs that are maybe not quite so bad, and if you just muzzle them, it would prevent something. I understand it's a little hard to put an objective statement as to what would put a dog in that situation, but it was just something that came up recently, and it's happened before periodically. So it's also a judgment call when the township decides to pursue vicious dog or potentially dangerous dog. Whenever there's a bad situation, I always discuss it with the animal control officer and our prosecutor to determine whether we think the situation rises to that level or not. So that's somewhat subjective on our part, too.
Did you find, when you looked at other townships, did you find any township that has objective criteria for something like that?
No, I'll have to say I didn't look. I'm sorry, I just did not get a chance to research that.
Okay.
So that's another reason. I don't think we need to rush into this. Maybe it needs some more consideration and looking at what other towns have. I guess I just put it out as a food for thought. Okay. Something we might want to do down the road.
Mr. Brownlee and then Mr. Ryan.
Yeah, my understanding was that your intent with this was to sort of, in a sense, legislate that gray area, if you would, because a vicious dog is a specific categorization, that there's state statutes indicating what that actually is, and this is something where it falls short of that, and you wanted to do something to essentially kind of legislate that gray area where it doesn't rise to the level of being a state-defined vicious animal, but in someone's judgment, it merits muzzling. Is that a correct?
That's correct.
Description of what your intent was?
Like that. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And if, in my experience, I've seen dogs like that, and I think, boy, it would be nice if that dog had a muzzle on it, even though maybe it never actually, succeeded in attacking another dog.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
So I had a meeting with a citizen about this in the aisle of the grocery store the other day. And the citizen, I'm sorry to steal your thunder, Matt. The citizen made an observation to me which until he made it really hadn't occurred to me, but I think really sort of lasers in on what the problem with this idea is. The things that are already in existence, the structures that are already in place, if you've got an issue, you got to go to court, right? And you have the opportunity to, make your case and prove that your dog isn't vicious, and somebody has to go to the trouble of proving that the dog is, and if as a result of all of that well-understood legal process, the dog is, I don't want to say the dog's found guilty, but the dog is found to need this treatment, the dog gets the treatment. Everything I've heard proposed sounds like, sounded to the citizen, and I think I agree with him, it sounds like you're taking away the person's right to be heard about their situation, which doesn't seem fair to me. I think, because of that, I think it's a bad idea. I mean, if there's a real problem with this gray area, as Mr. Brownlee calls it, we should ask our legislators to put some definition in the middle of that gray area rather than try and invent it ourselves, and make sure that if somebody needs to have their day in court, they get it. Seems to me. And I wouldn't do anything without that.
Any other comments?
I agree. I agree. If the person doesn't voluntarily muzzle it, they should have the right to have a hearing.
Mayor DeLuca.
No, I was just going to say, we did have a request for a comment about this, so.
I'm sorry if I stole your thunder, Matt, but.
I can't give you I'll give you a little spiel.
Well, you're welcome to come up and give your little spiel.
How's your sense of humor this evening?
You enjoyed
If
this a
you could
little
just
too
let us
much.
know your name and where you reside.
Matt Carmel, 12 Hopper Street, Maplewood. The town conservative libertarian gadfly extraordinaire. I don't agree, I didn't see the ordinance because it wasn't written, but generically speaking, the law already provides for either classification of a dog as a potentially dangerous dog or as a vicious dog, and there's procedures for that. And what it seemed to me, based on the Patch article that I read, was that we want to bypass this judicial notice or this due process and just simply say, well, we think this dog is potentially dangerous, and we're going to ask you to put a muzzle on him. And I object to that because if I'm walking down the street with Maynard and a dog attacks Maynard, and he, in defending himself, injures the other dog, and there's no witnesses, it's going to be my word against the other owner who says, your dog bit mine, and I'll say, no, he was defending himself. And it could very well end up being split the baby, pox on both your houses, muzzle both dogs. Now, forever going forward, Maynard is defenseless from attacks by other dogs. I've been in South Bend Reservation where he and I and a postal worker were chased by wild turkeys, raccoons, and I think Maynard has a right to self-defense. And it also violates the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution for due process. And as you know, I'm a constitutionalist. So, given those facts, this existing law that already addresses this, I see no need to add an extra layer on top of that. Simply, if you think a dog is potentially dangerous, and every dog is potentially dangerous, if you grab him by the wrong part, he'll bite you. So every dog is potentially dangerous. But vicious, you have to prove that dog meets the definition of vicious under the code and go to court. And the last comment is that I understand from the Patch article that you have had to take people to court in the past. So that means someone was going to spend after-tax dollars to go to in the trouble and the time to take you to court because they disagreed with your classification of the dog as vicious or potentially dangerous. So that, in my mind, works on my side, that it shows that people do take it seriously and they're willing to fight that classification. So that's my comment. Thank you. All right, you have questions?
Thank you.
It's a nice picture, man.
Any other comments?
Mr. Brownlee had a question. or comment.
No, I concur, again, as I kind of characterize it, sort of that legislating the gray area. I wasn't really too comfortable with that. And then also Ms. Larrier's question about whether or not other towns have even tried this, and without any kind of precedent and trying to legislate a gray area, it seems like we'd be putting in something that would, that's unnecessary, if you would. I was eagerly looking to see where you were going to say that Maynard was covered by the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
It's property.
So, no, but him himself as a human being, in a sense, so I was looking forward to that. So.
Hold it now. Right here, under the Fifth Amendment, No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Or shall private property be taken for public or use without just compensation. That doesn't apply. But no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property. A dog is property.
Oh, I thought you were saying a dog was a person.
Well,
That's
I
what I was-
think it's a person, and if you were to run on the platform of the dog not being a person, you would lose. I don't care what the law says. So, I consider Maynard to be a person, but I know he's not.
You just said he's property.
People
They're gonna muzzle you. You better be careful.
If you were to evacuate Maynard and told him to leave Maynard behind, that would be the problem. Maynard, wherever I go with, Maynard goeth. So,
And when you're up there getting chased by the wild turkeys, you don't have your gun with you?
no, of course not.
All right, I just want to make sure.
Okay, that's it. Any questions?
Can a turkey stand their ground?
No, that turkey did not stand his ground. That turkey chased me and it was Zach, actually, in the car. The postal worker ran past me, and I heard him say, "Erky." I was like, "What was that?" And it's literally, he was running down the hill. This is on that little path up to the top mountain. And he ran past me at full gallop. And I said, I didn't know what he was talking about. And all of a sudden, this big turkey came after us and chased me and Satch into the car. And I'm glad he said it wasn't. Maybe you should muzzle the turkeys.
Thank you, sir.
On that note.
Can we,
Any other comments?
there does
I
not seem to be
think-
any support for this. Can we just put it to bed here?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, please.
So, do we, I'm sorry, do we vote not to do this, or can we just drop it?
I kind of told you last meeting it wasn't a good idea.
No, we just,
You don't need to do anything.
we just drop
Okay,
it.
wonderful.
But all the other,
Yeah.
administrative
The other-
things, those are
Yeah.
all fine
The
as far
other
as
will
I'm
be
concerned.
on for introduction the other will be on for introduction at the September 17th meeting.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rowe, can we hear your report?
Yes, okay, thank you for indulging me on the muzzle situation. And I apologize for not getting the reports to you electronically. It was just a very busy day and I neglected to get it out. I'm sorry. This month is going to be a very busy month with the health department. We have a bunch of special programs, most of them being run by our nurses. On September 12th, I have flyers if you'd like to view them. The nurses are holding a special program for daycare providers to advise them about immunizations, required immunizations, and other health care situations that they need to know about when they run their daycare center. On September 25th, as part of Maplewood Loves Wellness Week, we're doing a free stroke assessment program at the community center. On Friday, September 27th, also as part of the Maplewood Loves Wellness Week, because we think animals are almost like people. We're having another spay-neuter clinic with the low-cost spay-neuter clinic, so thanks to the Humane Society for continuing to work with us on that. And we also have...
Did you listen to what you said?
Yeah, I did. It's a debate we have every day. The free, what's called the SHIP programs, State Health Insurance Assistance Program, is to educate people about Medicare beneficiaries and to help give them the correct information. So when you reach that age and you're signing up for Medicare or Part B, Part D, that you do so in an educated manner, and it's by appointment, so we continue to advertise this. We have a person that we work with who will come in and individually counsel people. So it's a good opportunity for anyone in that age group.
Are there any questions about this?
I'll give you a flyer.
Yes, I'll take a flyer.
And that's it. I did a somewhat lengthy narrative report on different situations that happened during August. And I hope that's what you need to know.
Any questions?
Yeah,
Mr.
I want to thank you for your work with the Essex County team on the emergency management stuff. Because I know we talked about that after Sandy and the whole issue, and I think, it's good that what you're doing here.
Right, yeah, we're working on it piece by piece. It's a tremendously complicated project when you think about all the potential illnesses that you might see. You could have heart disease, diabetes, mental health problems, Alzheimer's, wheelchair-bound, frail elderly. The list just goes on, and they each may need a little different type of care, and you need people who know how to do that care. So we're going to try to piece it together until we get it done.
Mr. Ryan?
At our last meeting, I think it was at our last meeting, we had some folks speak to Board of Health about this trap, neuter, release program with cats. And I know that we had said, we should find out a little more information, maybe have somebody come back to the meeting, and I just didn't want to lose track of where that was. When are those folks coming?
We have not lost track. The issue is the representative that is supposed to come and speak to us has scheduling issues. So it's looking more like it's going to happen in December, correct? December.
Oh, okay.
So yes, we have actually been in contact with her several times.
Thank you.
Mayor DeLuca.
Mr. Rowe, a while back you brought to us the ordinances for businesses to keep the front of their properties clean.
Yes.
What are we doing to enforce that? What are we doing to educate business owners about that? And really, what prompted this is a couple of concerns I've had around just overflowing garbage cans on Springfield Avenue and stuff falling onto the ground. But also, I got an email today about Tara's Deli that there was a garbage can there. It looks like it might even be a town garbage can, I'm not sure. But anyway, they've eliminated it because they didn't want to empty it. So if they don't have a garbage can there, they're going to end up with a lot of stuff all over that place, which they're going to end up having to go out there and clean it up. So I wanted to give this to you so you could follow up with Tara's. Maybe you can convince them to reopen that garbage can. The other thing is just, what are we doing about that, making sure that businesses are keeping the front of their property clean?
When the ordinance first passed, we did a lot of publicity, business to business. I have to say, since then, I have not put any special effort into it other than on a complaint basis. So I'll certainly go over to Tara's. I was speaking with him recently, and he was trying to decide whether to leave the garbage can in the store or outside of the store, and maybe he has to do both.
Yeah, the problem is the people who are buying the stuff and going out and walking to, or they're eating, he has tables out there, they eat out there. And,
Not sure.
Yes.
yeah.
I think so.
And you have a situation too, right, where, one of the populations that place serves is the high school.
Right.
Folks are going back to school soon, so, even if you don't have an appreciable problem now, you will next week.
Right. It's not a town litter basket, I don't believe. So
It's hard to tell.
it's just
No.
part of his doing business. He's just going to have to take care of it
Good.
like other
Okay.
businesses. May have to empty it 2 times a day.
This had come up previously, and I know that code officials have spoken with the owner, but it sounds like it needs to be
Okay,
reinforced.
I'll make sure we follow up on
And
that
give you
particular business, and also the other ones along Valley Street.
Right. There's other ones there too.
You're going to give that to him?
Yep.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes, I'd just like to mention one thing, going back to the Affordable Care Act and the education.
Two.
I read AARP magazine, even though, I just want to know what's going on with seniors. So in it, they talked about how many seniors are not fully covered and how many seniors are not covered. So this is millions across the country, but I think that we should do a special emphasis, since the senior club does meet monthly. Maybe we could keep that population in mind.
Yes, okay. I'm not sure how the Affordable Health Care Act applies to seniors.
Yeah, it
But it's
does.
something we'll need to learn about.
does.
I think we're all learning as we're going along.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Rowe? At this point in time, we come to our open comment portion of the Board of Health meeting. Is there anyone who would like to address the Board of Health who hasn't done so already? Yes, please come forward to the mic and tell us who you are and where you live.
Yeah, my name is Ruth Ross. I live right in Maplewood Village.
Address?
We need your address, ma'am.
169 Maplewood Avenue, apartment 4. I'm also interested in having the streets clean. And I have had it's been my impression that there are fewer garbage, I guess I would call them township garbage pails in and around the village area. I mean, not just on Maplewood Avenue, but in and around. So that is a question whether there has somehow been some removed or fewer, because it has been my sort of observation, however accurate it is or not.
I don't know.
Excuse me, Ms. Ross, I'm going to ask you to just speak into the mic. I'm getting texts that say they cannot hear you.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, yes, I do like a clean village, and I do pick up things that are on the ground, and yeah, I guess I have a particular thing for cigarette butts that are all over the sidewalk, but I'll spare you my comments on that. But it's just been, I felt that that I had observed that there seemed to be fewer town garbage pails, and I'm wondering if there had been any in and around the village area that had been, removed so that there were fewer. I mean, it's obviously less work.
Why don't we hear from Mr. Manning?
Yeah.
The short answer is no. None have been removed. As a matter of fact, we've upgraded them to what's called the big bellies, which are compactors, which actually even allow people where they used to overflow on the avenue frequently. Now we don't have that problem anymore.
Yeah, no, I've seen those.
So there has not been any reduction in garbage cans?
Okay, I accept the comment. Correction.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the Board of Health? Seeing no one, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back on the main agenda. We're on item number 7. We have an ordinance on final passage.
Mr. Mayor, item number 7, ordinance on final passage, ordinance number 2727-13. It's an ordinance to amend Chapter 257 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Vehicles and Traffic. This ordinance will allow property owners on Villa Terrace certain on-street parking privileges.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance to the law. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this ordinance? Seeing no one, will close the public hearing. Can we get a motion, Mr. Ryan?
Chairman, I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just, I wanted to commend the residents in that area. I don't know if I want to say specific names, but who were very diligent in their efforts to bring this to the township's attention and to get this ordinance passed.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. We have another ordinance on final.
Item number 8, Mayor, ordinance on final passage, ordinance number 2728-13. It's an ordinance to amend Chapter 257 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Vehicles and Traffic. This ordinance will establish the speed limit on Brook Lane at 15 miles per hour.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this ordinance? Seeing no one, will close the public hearing. Mr. Ryan, can I get a motion?
Chair, I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole, and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one discussion item, that's the request from the Valley Street Neighborhood Association to lower the speed limit on Valley Street from 35 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour. Mr. Manning and I met with the association back in May, and one of the concerns they had was the speeding or the amount of traffic on Valley and the speed of traffic on Valley. We asked the county to do a traffic and speed study. They did. It shows that the speeds range from 25 to 34, 30 to 39 miles per hour in different spots. This was also done at a time, I guess when it was concluding the school year, and they were doing it in June. I took a ride on Valley from South Orange Avenue to the Maplewood border, just to check out the speed limits. And on the other side of South Orange is Scotland Road, and it's 25 miles there. But on the portion from South Orange Avenue to the Maplewood border, the South Orange miles per hour is 30. But it is a much different kind of neighborhood. It's mostly a commercial neighborhood. Once you get to Maplewood and past the high school, it really becomes a residential, much more residential. And of course, the amenities of the park and all that. And so I really think that it makes sense to do this. In fact, as you drive down and you get to where the old A&P is, there's a sign that says it's a school zone, 25 miles when children are present. So a portion of that road is already 25 at certain times. And then there's another part when you get to Oakland where the curve is that says 25 miles. So there's some recognition that lowering the speed makes sense. And I think lowering the speed for the whole the portion of Valley makes sense. We were concerned that this was going to be a county thing where we were going to get the runaround and all that. But luckily, I ran into the county engineer on August 19th when we were cutting the ribbon for the Wyoming Avenue paving. And he said that if we pass an ordinance, actually pass an ordinance lowering the speed limit, we do that first. Then we send it to the county, and then they will pass an ordinance to complement that. But he says we have to do it because we're the ones issuing the tickets. We have to have it on our books that it's 25 miles an hour. So I would recommend, based on the request of the association and based on the reality of what's there and the type of neighborhood that we're talking about, that we instruct Mr. Desiderio to prepare an ordinance for introduction at our next meeting that would lower the speed limit on that stretch of Valley to 25 miles.
So, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
My understanding is that we're talking about all of Valley, as long as you're in Maplewood, it's 25 miles an hour.
Correct, from the border
From the South Orange border all the way to the...
to Milburn Avenue. Mr. Ryan.
I'm in favor of this. I have, a question and a suggestion. So, if I understood what you said correctly, if this ordinance is passed, we'd be 25 miles an hour in Maplewood, 30 miles an hour for the section of Valley Street from the Maplewood South Orange border to South Orange Avenue, and then back to 25 miles an hour again on Scotland. So, I think we should do this. I agree with your suggestion, and I wouldn't stop doing it waiting for other things, but it seems a reasonable idea to suggest to our friends in South Orange that, we're going to be doing this, and maybe they ought to reduce that one section to 25 as well, so it's consistent all the way through. And the other question I had is, do you have any idea what it is, what the speed limit is on Valley when you get when you when you pass Milburn Avenue over on the Vauxhall side there?
I don't.
Because that's a whole different county.
It's a different county, I don't.
But that's pretty residential too. As I said, I wouldn't not move forward on this, or I wouldn't wait to move forward on this to get an answer back on these other folks, but it certainly seems a reasonable idea to communicate with South Orange that we're doing this and suggest that they do the same.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I know Mr. Desiderio was smiling there. I think the important thing you said is we shouldn't delay it and we shouldn't wait for them.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree
okay.
with that.
Okay. All right, so, everybody okay with doing that? Do you want a motion, or are you okay with that? All right, so we'll have it on at the next meeting for introduction of an ordinance to lower it 25. The other request that we have is to create some crosswalks. Once you get past Tuscan on Valley, as you're going towards Milburn, there's not another painted crosswalk until you get to Milburn.
Right.
Tuscan to Millburn.
Yeah. So one of the things that we've been talking about, planning and engineering, is identifying where it would make sense to create some crosswalks. These would be non-signalized crosswalks. And those are always more difficult because people have to stop, but they do it. And they certainly have that in South Orange, non-signalized crosswalks there. So through the planning and engineering, we'll work through some suggestions of where they might be. And then it's like the other thing is that we have to identify those and request from the county that they become crosswalks. So we'll put that, we have that on the agenda for our next planning and engineering meeting, and we'll move forward with that. Okay?
Cool.
Okay? Okay. All right. Next up is the consent agenda.
May I move for the approval of the items on the consent agenda?
Second.
Any discussion?
Congratulations to Sonia on her
Yes.
completing her class.
Yes.
She didn't take the test yet, but she's gone to the
Okay.
class.
Well, tell her she's got the resolution.
You know.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mrs. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. And you can tell her that she doesn't need to have word-for-word minutes. They were very good.
That's a court reporter,
Yeah, it must have taken a long time.
and I crossed out quite a bit.
Our next item is public comment. Is there anyone who would like to address the Township Committee? Seeing no one, we will close the, Ruth, are you going to speak? Ms. Ross? Oh, you can do that too.
What do you have? Is it good?
We're not done, you never know. Okay, so we're going to close the public comment period. We have, next up is reports from departments. We've received Construction Code Official Report for July 2013. Administrative reports, Mr. Manning.
Yes, hi. Several items. I wanted to announce that September, for those of you who are not aware, is National Disaster Preparedness Month. And I think one of our Township Committee persons, Mr. Brownlee, is going to make an announcement of importance about that. I urge people to, during this month, to go to our website and make sure they're signed up for the Code Red alerts. Those are the things that we send out through the telephones or through texts when we have emergency situations. Also, while they're there, they can sign up for email alerts. This will allow them, when we send email blasts out, which we do frequently about important topics, to receive those. During the month, there will be a couple things that happen, but the one that is definitely scheduled now is that our Community Emergency Response Team, or CERT, will present a disaster preparedness briefing at 7:30 p.m. in this municipal courtroom on Thursday, September the 19th. So details will be on our website regarding that. Bulk drop-off is coming up, and I have to read a text from Mr. Burbank, that bulk drop-off day, which is over at the recycling center, is on Saturday, the 14th of September. It is a Jewish holy day, and for those who celebrate, they can bring it on Friday the 13th, as long as they call his office so they know they can know who to expect or when to expect it. They kept that day consistent, meaning the second Saturday of May and June. Those Saturday hours are 8 to 2, so bulk pickup will be on the 14th, Saturday, 8 to 2. But those who observe the religious holiday or holy day, it'll be Friday from 8 until 3. That number is to call and say you'll be coming on the Friday is 973-762-1175. Farmers Market is open every Monday from 2 to 7, located on Indiana Street parking lot at Indiana and Springfield Avenue. The fall produce is being harvested and offered along with Italian specialties and pickled products. So please shop local, shop Maplewood. Town Hall, by the way, is closed this Friday afternoon, 9/6, from
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock for the employees to enjoy the 10th Annual Employee Appreciation Picnic, which is given to them by the Township Committee. They appreciate it. It helps morale, and on behalf of everyone, I want to say thank you. And that's it, unless there is something. Oh,
Ms. Larrier.
Yes, I'm sorry, I can't see you over this little thing here.
okay.
For the bulk pickup, someone asked me, televisions, can they bring televisions on that date?
Yeah, no, electronics are a separate drop-off, and it's on our website. We share, I think it's
Alternate between Maplewood and South Orange.
South
right?
Maplewood and South Orange. It's on our website, so you bring them on those days. I don't know what that is right now.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other things? Mr. Manning, on the event that's happening on the 19th,
Yes.
would you alert our citizen member of the emergency management team, Mr. Bob Rowe, to that? Would you send him an email letting him know that's going to
Yes,
come?
of course, yes.
I ran into him yesterday at the farmer's market, and he suggested we ought to be preparing, and I think it would be helpful if he knew what you were all talking about. The other thing is we got a notice of the public information contest from Rutgers Center. Are we going to submit anything?
Mr. Carrera is already on that. And
Okay.
yes.
What are we submitting? The website and,
Mayor, we have submitted a bunch of different items that we use, including the website, the mobile app, which Mr. Brownlee will talk about in a moment, our employees' newsletter.
okay, terrific.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, Ms.
Thank you.
I was just looking at Mr. Ryan because I was saying everything he was repeating me, so that's okay.
Yes.
Oh, this
Yeah.
isn't a repeat. This is information on the Electronic Recycling Day. It is in South Orange. It's on Saturday, September 21st, and it's from 8 until noon.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Manning. Mr. Desiderio.
Yeah, I have one item, Mayor. From time to time, I've brought to you situations where someone had been a recipient of an affordable housing grant and needed some relief with regard to a mortgage. The situation presently is that the people are having some trouble with payment of the mortgage, so they're doing a loan modification, and the lender, in order to have them be successful in getting the loan modification, requires that the township subordinate its mortgage. I would recommend it, and if it's agreeable to everybody, I'd ask the mayor to sign the subordination this evening.
Need a resolution?
Motion.
Yeah.
I move that we direct the mayor to do that.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mrs. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you.
all
That's
I
it.
have, Mayor.
Ms. Fritzen.
Okay, so since our last meeting, we had the special Senate primary on August 13th. It went fine. We had probably a greater voter turnout in town than we had expected. There were no issues, no problems. The special Senate election is next scheduled for Wednesday, October 16th. Same from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And all of our polling places will be utilized, and each registered voter will receive a sample ballot with the information. We're also going to have one special voter registration. I'll post the date up on the website. It's coming up in September, I believe it's the 17th, until 9 p.m. And you all saw that Surrogate Stevens would like to address the Township Committee and is scheduled that for October. The first meeting in October. We'll be back to the town hall by then. And the next item will be the volunteer appreciation supper that we've been doing successfully in October, and I'll run some dates by the Township Committee for your availability. And that's what I have, except I did want to say that in addition to giving you the update on the Board of Adjustment that we had spoken about earlier tonight, I want to give you again the full update on where the committees stand.
You done?
That's it.
That's it? It's hard to see, just I see the top of your head.
I like it here, I can
You need a
hide.
pillow so we can see you.
That's how I feel.
We have, it seems like we've gotten a declining number of volunteers coming to our appreciation dinner. What I would suggest is maybe we could all take responsibility to contact the people who serve on the boards and committees that we're liaisons to, so
Yeah,
you could
last
get
year
us.
it dropped off some.
Yeah, if you could get us that information so that we could, early enough, if we have a date, we could let people know that we're going to have it, and we could urge people to come out to it, because it's a nice affair, and it gives us a chance, you know, for folks to see everyone who volunteers in the community.
Sure.
Thanks.
How was the collegian drop-off, Ms. Ritchie?
Collegiate drop-off was fine, thank you.
Splendid.
3 weeks into it.
Congratulations.
Okay, anything from Ms. Fritzen besides that? Okay, we're now at elected officials. Mr. Ryan,
I have no report this evening, Mayor, thank you.
Mrs. Larrier,
No report, sir.
Ms. Leventhal.
I have-
Aloha.
Yes, aloha. That's about the only word I remember 3 weeks
your
later. Mahalo.
Right.
Okay, so I have two announcements about activities occurring in Maplewood. One is the Eco House and Garden Tour, which will take place on Sunday, September 15th from 1 to 4, sponsored by the Green Team, where people are opening their homes and their gardens in terms of environmentally friendly and money-saving projects, everything from solar to drip irrigation. Come to me, visit me for that one. Insulation, chickens, etc. So this is it's on maplewoodisgreen.org. It will be on our own website tomorrow or the next day. And there's a map, and it tells you the address and what you can find there. And what we've done is not just one home with, say, solar. We have different parts of town so that people can stay pretty local and still get to see quite a few things. Composting's another thing. There's
How do you insulate a chicken?
how what?
How do you insulate a chicken?
Carefully.
Come and find out. Okay, we also have coming up Maplewood Loves Wellness Fair and Week on September 21st. September 21st, we'll be in Memorial Park on Oakview Road, from noon till 3. We're rolling out 2 new projects this year. One is a healthy cooking contest among the Maplewood food businesses, and the other is in partnership with Overlook Hospital, where we received a grant to sponsor the pilot of a walking program for the community at large. And free pedometers are part of that, group coaching, and some sessions on safety and nutrition. So please go to our website. You'll see down the left side of the homepage where Maplewood Loves Wellness is listed. Just have to scroll down a little. And that'll take you to a page with all of the activities mentioned, and that will then take you to either an application or further information. So I want to thank Mr. Carrera for working with us on that. We have some terrific volunteers making this all happen, so we look forward to seeing you then, and I'll have a little more information at the next Township Committee meetings, like specifically what will be happening during the week. Thank you.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes, I have 2 things. First, it gives me great pleasure to announce that the Township of Maplewood is proud to introduce our new customized mobile app for Township residents who have Apple and Android phones and tablets. As many will recall, in the wake of Hurricane Sandy, a lot of people lost their power and couldn't get information using their laptop computers or desktop computers, and smartphones were a way in which, theoretically at least, people could get that information. However, again, we didn't have a smartphone app, if you would. And so we recognized the need to communicate in as many ways as possible, and this was one venue in which we were not taking advantage of things. So in an effort to improve the communication between the township and its residents, the Township of Maplewood contracted with Civic Plus to develop a customized mobile app for our residents. And the app is now available, now as in right now, available free of charge in the iTunes and Google Marketplace. If you go to either of those, depending on your device, if you put in the search Maplewood NJ, so Maplewood, and then a space, and NJ for New Jersey, that app will come up, and again, you can download that app for free. This mobile app will facilitate access to township information. Anything that's on the website will also be automatically available to residents using this app. You'll have access to township news, to alerts, event information, and more. In addition, you'll be able to request services through the app as well. So if you want to put in a request to use a particular park or submit service requests or review information about township facilities, all that information will be available via this app. So it is available, as I said, again, as we speak. If you go to look for Maplewood space NJ, you'll be able to download that. And again, it's free of charge.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
I just want to let the public know that, knowing that you're going to be making this announcement, I waited when you started the announcement. I started searching for it and downloaded, and before you finished your announcement, I finished downloading it and installing it. It's very easy to do. It's very straightforward. Go for it.
Excellent.
Was he saying that you speak a lot? You talk a lot?
Not at all.
You're
Mr. Brownlee was very succinct, and the download was even faster.
The demo was even faster. There you go.
Okay.
We'll point out that there is a space here, Mr. Manning, for your picture. Yeah, right here.
Oh, and do say Maplewood space NJ, because if you just say Maplewood, it'll find Maplewood,
Yes, I was
Missouri,
trying to make
which
a
you don't want to
distinction.
do.
Maple,
did Maplewood and it came up.
okay, so other things may work as well.
You have an
So-
iPhone.
Okay.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful app.
Anything else?
Well, I also wanted to recognize the efforts of our Assistant Township Administrator, Mr. Correa, for doing all the research and bringing this to fruition, and Mr. Manning. I'd like to recognize them both publicly for all their efforts in bringing this to us. The Communications Committee worked with them to review the prototypes as it was coming forward, and, we're very, very pleased with the way things have turned out, and, this is a great day. This is actually available, so it's good to see
job.
things come to
Thank you.
fruition. So again, I wanted to thank you very much for that. And lastly, I also will be having my office hours next Tuesday, that's September 10th, from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. at the Hilton branch of the library on Springfield Avenue. So if anyone wishes to come out and chat with me, I will be there from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. And that's my report. Thank you.
I have one item, and that is my office hours are also next Tuesday, September 10th, from 7 to 8 p.m. at Town Hall. And if there's nothing else,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Bye.
All right.